What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Comic Book Weekly. Don't worry, Brant will be here tonight. He is running late. He just told us, he's like, guys, I'm running late, so just start the show without me. So that's what we wanted to do. We'll definitely have a good show. We will talk about the new Wolverine comic and the Red Band stuff. As we already have a comment on here from Spider Hunter saying, so the second Red Band title is Overdoing it. It's new. Let them cook for a bit, and we'll talk about it more in a little bit. So, but Kat, we got some news this week. You want to kick it off?
We do. So I'm going to actually start with, I marked this down not because I'm interested in the title, but mostly I'm interested in the concept that Johnny Quest is getting a series. I believe it's from, let's see who's publishing it. It is Dynamite, which makes sense because Dynamite been doing a lot of nostalgia books. And the reason I want to talk about it is just like we are saying Overdoing it with the Red Band, but there's a lot of nostalgic series out there and a lot of nostalgic series that aren't your go-tos, like the, Transformers. You kind of understand that's been out there for a long time with comics. They've been doing it over and over again, Power Rangers, but things that are very niche, like a Johnny Quest or Sesame Street is an interesting one that that's getting a comic.
And they got Ghost Rider, they got Thundercats right now, Darkwing Duck, you got Gargoyles, so yeah, I mean, you could say that for any comic though, right? Like a comic book is comic book in general, collecting comics or reading comics is very niche, and then when you break it down into a character, that makes it even more like, oh, okay, I like comic books, but I like that guy. And so it's just like Johnny Quest is, how many Johnny Quest comics do you think that they're going to sell?
Again, it's so not even my generation, so I couldn't even
tell
you.
My generation.
Yeah, it's like the 60s, right?
Yeah. 60s
so,
and 70s, I think.
I'm not really sure how much that's going to sell, but it's a different concept. It's a different comic, but we've definitely seen it a lot in comics, even with Marvel, DC too. You had the Batman movies that they were doing stuff with, the Superman movies, and then Marvel has done, honestly, their whole line of these nostalgia books that have been coming out. So yeah, it's, I don't know if it's a good or bad thing. I think anything that floods is not maybe the best thing in the world, but because it's different properties, I guess I don't mind as much, because it's like, oh, I don't need to read every Johnny Quest comic, I just got to read the books I like. And I mean, even the Disney stuff, like I just read Lilo and Stitch because I think it's interesting that Greg Pak writes it, and I think it's an interesting franchise that you can actually see the characters grow because it had a television show. So I'm very much pick and choose. Infamous Mike Manhattan says, I got a free comic book day issue, Johnny Quest. Joe Casey's writing it. So yeah, this is a continuation of that. We also have another question. I've been out of comics, especially Marvel books, for a minute. What is Red Band comics you're talking about? So we'll just give you a definition, but we are going to talk about Red Band later. But they're just a little bit more, not raunchy, they're just more violent, the comics, but they have a safe for work version, most of these books. So it's like, here's a safe for work version, and then here's a couple of pages that are a little different to make it more violent for you. And
they say it's supposed to be explicit content. That's basically what it is. So it's like the you would think rated R version, but like based off of
that first issue
off of Blood Hunts, there wasn't like a tremendous difference where you're like, oh, that shit needed the poly bag, So
sure.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Yeah, basically Marvel Max. Yeah, that's basically
except there's two versions, because again, Marvel Max, they just had the one, and we're like, we're making more mature books. But even I think what's hard, and we'll talk about the Red Band more, but what's hard about making a safe for work version or Red Band version is like, how far can you go by changing a few lines? Like Max, it's like, this is a more intense story, we're selling you a more violent story because this is written for that. A Red Band is like, oh, this is, again, it's like you watching the TV version of a rated R movie or the rated R movie you're seeing in theaters. Is there a huge difference? It might take out a few scenes, but for the most part, the story is the same, So
there was only a couple added pages in the Blood Hunt one, and the couple of pages that were added were not story changing whatsoever. It didn't add to the story at all, really. Maybe one page did, and then at the end of it, there was a more graphic scene. But it was, I don't know. But yeah, we'll talk about it more.
Yeah, no, for sure. So let's go to our next topic here, which is the Dazzler miniseries. So we talked about Dazzler last week, but now we have more information, and we were all disappointed to hear this was a miniseries because it's like, oh, it would have been really cool if this was an ongoing. This is a cool character to do that with. So miniseries makes it a little less. No, I mean, I'm gonna go see it, but it makes it a little less of big news because we've gotten Dazzler miniseries before.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was funny because we were like, "Oh, I wonder what the Dazzler miniseries is, or the Dazzler series is going to be," And then it that news dropped literally the next day, and I text Kat and I said, "Hey, look, we got the news on Dazzler, and it's only a miniseries." I'm like, "Oh man, that's just." She was like, "Figures, right?" So I'm trying to look out
It's
who the roster is on this. Oh, okay, so it's got. She's joined by fellow mutants of Domino, Strong Guy, who's like the bodyguard, and one man roadie. Oh, multiple man. Shark Girl, and
don't know what
I
that is.
think that's it. So I think Strong Guy and having multiple man is very much X Factor like. So that's pretty cool. I like the roster, and I'll definitely check it out. I'm trying to see, does it say who it's written by?
Probably. Let me look.
Let me see. Oh, this series will be joined.
Written by Jason Liu and Raphael Lorori. I'm not familiar with those people. Let's see if you could do a Comic Vine search for Jason Liu and see what they've written before. Jason Liu has written Werewolf by Night. Honestly, I'm not really familiar with many of their titles. A lot of the digital stuff. So a lot of the Marvel, what do they call it? Their digital stuff, Infinity. Yeah, so they did a lot of that stuff.
Well, hopefully it's good, right?
That's all I'm asking for. That's all I've ever wanted for Dazzler is a good story.
So
have you guys seen King? Go on.
I was gonna say, I was like, I wish it was an ongoing, but it is what it is at this point.
I would love it to be an ongoing. That's definitely something I would like to see. Mike Manhattan says, have you seen Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes? I've not. I'm a little behind on all the movies I'm seeing. So I just saw Challengers. Probably going to see Fall Guy next and then maybe Kingdom Planet of the Apes. But honestly, I don't think I've seen the last one. I saw the one before that, but didn't see the last one. Planet of the Apes is not like my big franchise, but I heard it was good.
Planet of the Apes movie in quite some time either.
Let's go into. This is interesting. Rob Liefeld is doing his final Deadpool story, which is the 15th final Deadpool story.
Well, listen, I mean, we've heard this before that this was going to be a final story. Was that you?
Sync. No, it's a sync in the background. Sorry.
Okay. I heard that this was I heard that Liefeld was doing this story for a long time now, and I don't have any expectations for a final story. I'll check it out just to see what it's like. And, if you know Rob Liefeld, you're going to know what you expect. We had Major X or whatever that was a few years back, and now you're going to get a little Deadpool story here. So it could be all right.
I will not be picking it up. I'm good. I don't think I need to pick that one up. Next up is there's some that Brant just listed, but I'll talk about two of them. American Vampire, the team has a new title. It was a Comixology title. It's called Duck and Cover, and now it's going to Dark Horse. I mostly just mentioning it because I really like American Vampire. This seems like a cool idea. It's has to do with a nuclear attack and the aftermath of it. So it's also another history book. So I will most likely be getting this.
That's cool.
So I'm ready for Wolverine Deadpool WW3. Did the second one already come out?
No, that was the name of the title. Remember, Wolverine, Deadpool, Wade Wilson the
Yeah,
third. We haven't gotten
yeah,
the second issue yet.
that's what I'm saying. They said they're excited for 3.
Yeah, but that's just
Oh,
that's
that's the
part of the
title,
title.
right? It's
Yeah,
called 3. I forgot that. I was
yeah.
like, so what would that be called? So Deadpool WW3 issue 3 that's gonna be fun when it comes out. I am not excited for that because we will not be picking it up, but I'm glad you enjoyed the first issue on that one.
Yeah, I just couldn't
Well,
like we were talking about it and we just like couldn't understand it. You know what I'm saying? Like couldn't quite get what was going on. It was like a little bit all over the place.
don't spoil X-Men 97. I'm planning on watching it. I see some spoilers in the
Oh,
comments. I'm
don't
gonna
guys.
watch.
Yeah, she hasn't watched it.
I watched
watched
the
it.
pilot. That's all I've seen. No spoilers. If you
Yep.
guys want to talk about it without the spoilers. But all right, let's get into the next one, which is Cheetah is gonna play a big part in Wonder Woman. Which I've been really and Brant's here, so we will catch up with the news on him too. But yeah, so Brant, we're talking about Cheetah joining Wonder Woman. I've been loving this run. I think it's been a really, really great run, and I think they've done a really good job at showing a different angle of characters you already know and love, like Steve Trevor,
Trevor.
Wonder Woman in general. So I'm excited to see what he does with Cheetah.
Yeah, no, I've been enjoying this run as well. And hey, everybody, sorry I'm late, but yeah, no, it's been so surprising this run, and I went in it like really hesitant, and I've enjoyed it every step of the way. So Cheetah is such a big character in Wonder Woman's history that I'm really curious to see what he does with her actually.
So, Brent, just to let you know, some of the stuff we talked about already was the American Vampire team on a new title, Dazzler, Johnny Quest, and Rob Liefeld. So, I think out of the things that you marked down Dazzler and the American Vampire stuff. So, if you have any quick thoughts on that.
Yeah, Dazzler I'm just excited about. And the American Vampire team, I was reading a little bit about that description, and it said for fans of Fallout, and I really enjoyed that show. I've never played the game, but I really enjoyed the show. Which makes me want to play the game. So I was like, okay, if it's fans for Fallout, I'm going to check out the comic too. So yeah.
I want to watch the show. I haven't seen the Fallout show, but
it's really good.
Yeah. That's cool. How many episodes is it?
I don't think so.
It's not that many. It's like, man, I don't know, 10 or less.
Gotcha.
For sure.
Julius, my friend, is in a few episodes as an extra. He does time.
Really?
He's doing some extra work. Yep. So you might see his face in one or two of the episodes.
I wish I'd known that when I watched it. I would have been looking for it.
I forget which spot you can see him in. I know you can see him in one or two sections because he shared it, but he did Mean Girls, he did that, and he did Succession. So you saw him a little bit in Mean Girls. I think you saw him a good amount in Fallout. So I wish I knew which spot it was in, but I haven't seen the show, but it's cool that he's in it.
I watched all of Succession too. I should have. I wish. I
in Succession, he's in a clip where there's like a meeting, like a Zoom type meeting, and he's like one of the Zoom people.
Okay.
So you can see him pretty quickly on that. So.
Brian, I wanted to ask you, what did you think of the roster for the Dazzler comic?
I did not look at that. I haven't had a chance to look at the news. I just marked it down. Let me
like Domino. We were talking about.
That's cool.
Yeah, look.
Multiple Man. Oh yeah, I did see this before. I did look at this. Shark Girl, Multiple Man, and yeah, I think this is a really fun cast of characters. Yeah, I think they could do a lot of fun things with these.
And it sucks that it's a mini series though, right? It's like, oh, this could be cool.
Oh yeah, I'd love to see this as a maxi or ongoing for sure. But yeah, I'll take what I can get.
Now, another thing you wanted to talk about, Brant, was Lilith issue 1's kicking off a new mature label for Vault.
Yeah, and it's funny because the only reason I really wanted to talk about this was the colors. But Lilith is the first vampire, so I mean that's a cool story. So it's interesting. The art looked really good, but it's Warnia cat who both of us have worked with.
Oh, nice. So yeah, we both
Warnia
for other projects. That's really cool. Glad that she's getting her name out there.
Yeah, so I just wanted to give her a shout out. I'm not going to try to pronounce her last name.
No, the first is enough. I don't think I try to pronounce it either.
No.
Another thing is, okay, so we have Spider-Man is back in black in Venom War Spider-Man. I wasn't planning on reading Venom War because I'm not reading Venom or Carnage. I'd probably pick this up, this miniseries, just because that's cool that Peter is wearing the suit.
I'm reading Venom, so right now the Venom symbiote does not have a host attached to it, and it's kind
That's
of based
interesting.
off of Blood Hunt. It's searching for a host, and the most recent thing that it tried to go to is Lee Price. Remember that guy?
From 20,000
He
years
wound
ago.
up dying, and then like he went to his grave and he came up, and I don't know, it's this big fail, and it's so like Venom is like so like weird right now because Al Ewing's writing it, so it's just like I don't even know how this whole war is going to happen. So I think somehow the Venom suit, I would think, might be out of desperation go to Peter. I'm not 100% sure, but that's what I'm gathering here.
Gotcha.
I mean, it'll be interesting either way.
Yeah, I'm with you, Kat. I'm not reading either of those books, so this one though, because it's Peter with the symbiote again, I'll probably check that one out at least.
Yeah, so it also shows you could probably read a tie-in without having to read the main event because sometimes they're not that related. Yeah, I had to drop Venom every time they revealed a new Eddie. I lost interest more and more.
Yeah, that part of it's over though. Finally, like it actually is. So thank God for that.
So next up, this was actually potentially going to be one of our topics this week. So Spider Society is a new Spider-Verse title. Alex Segura is a good friend, so I'm glad that he's getting more Marvel work. But I wanted to talk overall about the Spider-Verse because we had a Spider-Verse connection with the Dan Slott Spider-Man. That was kind of a surprise that was pretty much the whole series of Spider-Verse. And now we have another Spider-Verse team, which we've had before with the Web Warriors. I'm excited for the creative team that's taking over, but I also very curious have they overdone? I mean, we keep talking about overdoing stuff, but have they overdone Spider-Verse? Like, is there more to really say? Having all these, they're trying to make the new Spider-Gwen or the new Miles Morales, but when you just try to hit stuff to the wall, is it really doing anything? So, I'll probably pick up the first issue, but I'm not really sure about the premise.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that does give me a little hope is that it says this is the final evolution of the saga of the Spider-Verse, but you can't really trust that. I'm Spider-Versed out personally. I'm tired of it, and this miniseries in August is going to be like every single Spider character we've seen and some we've not seen. So
oh wow, it's gonna be
it's so much. It's gonna be so many characters to balance in that. It does have some cool covers.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it before where they explode all over the place and no one gets screen, panel time or whatever it is. And I agree. I'm right there with you guys. Like, I'm just like, man, oh man, like that just needs to stop. That needed to stop like 2 years ago already. It's just like every year we get another one. And I just feel like it's like, I don't know if they want to do it to try to make the next Spider character like the next Spider-Gwen.
I mean, that's what I think they're doing it for.
And that's what I think. Yeah, I think that's what they've been trying to do. And I think that's just something that happens like once when you don't mean for it to happen and it just happens, that's when it works. It's kind of like, I think this Wolverine character, right? That was in Ghost Rider, where you get the combination of Ghost Rider and Wolverine and you mash them together and it just, people seem to like that. Like, it seems like it's working. It was never super forced in your face, kind of like all these Spider characters like, here, let's get this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy. Maybe this one will be cool, so and I'm tired of that. And it's so bad. Like, they do it with Venom now. There's Venomverse too. And it's just like, guys, just stop it. Just stop that, because it's old. It gets boring and it's really not needed.
Yeah. The one interesting thing about this though is who they're fighting, which is the Sinister Squadron, which is like, spider villains from across the multiverse. But again, that's even more characters you gotta balance. So there's not gonna be enough screen time. I don't think for people. I mean, it depends on the writing, and Alex is cool, so we'll see. But
We do have a question. Is there any chats rooms the comic book frontline hangs out in? No, not really.
once upon a time, but not.
Yeah,
not
once
really
upon a time we
anymore.
had a Discord, but
We-
not anymore.
We do have Mike's Facebook group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is that.
Because both Kat
probably the
and
best
Brant
place.
are members of my Facebook group. So
Yeah.
if you do have any questions in there, feel free.
Tag us.
They'll write back to you for sure, and I'll write back to you also.
Yep.
Yeah, that's probably the best place. I'm glad you mentioned that, Brant. Because we're not really chat room people, but the Facebook group is a great place to contact us.
Yep.
Oh, and we got Geek the Bulls who says best Facebook group. I couldn't agree more. It's a fun one if you like comics. It's a cool group. Cool group of people as well.
Yep.
A YouTube channel chat room. I didn't even know that existed. Isn't this a chat room right now?
Yeah, right.
There's a YouTube chat room, really?
Right? They have too many new features. If they do have it, I'm not going to join it. That sounds like a lot of work. So I'm guessing the Discord Comic Frontline server is dead. If you've been checking it, kudos to you. But yeah, that's been dead for like 5 years.
It exists, but there's nobody there.
Yeah.
It was fun while it lasted, but our lives get too busy. So sadly, that's not where we're able to put our time. But again, I think the Facebook group's a great place to go. But let's talk about our main topic here. So this was a new title that was announced today. Greg Capullo and Jonathan Hickman are doing a Wolverine Revenge book. And guess what? There's a Red Band version of it, so we want to talk about the Red Band. As a book, I'm going to read it. Obviously, Greg Capullo hasn't done Marvel stuff in a long time. Yeah. Hickman, I'm a little worried he's might be getting tied into too many titles at this point. But right now, it's just Spider-Man. He did some one-shots here and there, so hopefully they don't overbear him with too many projects. But
this is a mini series too.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not an ongoing, so that should be good. So let's talk about the series first and then Red Band. So Mike, why don't you go talk about the series itself?
I think when it comes to this series, I think we thought that Capullo was going to be doing the main story, and Wolverine, we saw I think there was artwork of Wolverine, and everyone thought it was going to be the main series. So obviously they've been working on this for a while, and it turns out to be this mini series, which I think this could be really, really cool. I think I'd
rather it be a mini.
Yeah, I mean, with this artwork with Greg Capullo on there, I think people are going to be all over this book, and with Jonathan Hickman writing it, I think with him kind of being a little bit on fire right now, I think people are going to check this out. And when it comes to the Red Band part of it, I think it will probably be more bloody, maybe more gory, but how much is it going to be? How much of a difference is it going to be? Right. I mean, we only seen one Red Band edition book so far compared to the regular. And it's like, how much are they willing to go to where the point where it's going to be that much more different,
Yeah, we'll have the second issue of Blood Hunt tomorrow to kind of compare.
I won't first know. One. I'm dropping it.
Yeah, are you? I like it. I'm enjoying it so far.
I'm good.
Yeah, I get it. I understand. Yeah, I mean, it's like it's kind of funny our topic because there hasn't been that many Red Bands, but because they started doing it, now we're going to start seeing it everywhere, where we can just see the writing on the wall, especially with this book announcement. And yeah, I mean, it kind of started a little bit with that Red, White, and Blood or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they kind of saw, oh, that's something. So let's, push it a little bit more and get a little bit more money out of this and stuff. So, but like you said, Mike, there's not a whole lot of difference between the two, at least so far. I'm kind of hoping if they do continue these Red Bands that they do push the envelope, give you a little extra content, do something to differentiate them.
But how do they make it different? Because I was going to say, like, a big example of that is the Radiant Black stuff that me and Brant have been reading, is that they make it so different that it's so delayed. Like, when's
Yeah,
that next
true.
book coming out? Who the hell knows? Because like they're trying to make it so different, innovative. So it's like if you're
Yeah.
at Marvel and you're at Marvel, and you have to be a machine. It's like, well, how different can you make it? And but then at the same time, do you even need these Red Band titles if they're not that different? And you're buying 2 of these versions, or maybe you just buy the Red Band version because like, all right, I'll make it a little bit more gory, I guess. But it's like not
Right.
that gory. It's not invincible gory. It's not that impressive.
Right.
So it's just like, what's the
Yeah.
point of the big deal? And I think that's why it already feels overdone. Because I'm just like, well, it never in my mind succeeded in the first place. So how do you have 3 of these titles when you can't even prove that anyone wants it?
Yeah,
I mean,
and it's.
go ahead.
I'm just gonna say real quick, Mike. It's like there's 2 comparisons. There's the Max line, which pushed the envelope all the time back in the day,
Right.
and then like you said, Invincible. And like if they have an opportunity, perfect opportunity with a vampire story and with Wolverine, who is known for shredding people with metal claws, to really push that. And yeah, you're right. They're not taking advantage of it. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at these books and sitting there going, well, this is a way for them to get people to get 2 comics, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Off of the
Make
same
money.
story. Right. And so I feel like this might be something too that they might want to tweak, right? Because you're thinking, okay, well, we're going to get everyone to try to buy, both copies of the original and the Red Band. And then you're going to have that Werewolf by Night one that's going to come out. Now you're getting this Wolverine one that's coming out. And so I think in order to make it work, I think you need to make it much more graphic. I
agree.
Or add other stuff, add some curse words, add some sex, like add other things besides just like, oh, his head fell off.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like the one part was there was a Black Panther part that was a little bit more gory. That was in the last one. And then there was the Doctor Strange page at the end. Those were the major difference. I know there was some other like little subtle differences, but nothing there to sit there and let you know like, hey, my God, this was super explicit. And this is, you need to polybag this. And we talked about it last week or the week before with the Nick Fury book. That book was much more bloody. The Sabretooth War book is way more bloodier than this the Blood Hunt book. So I think they're going to need to tweak it. And I think maybe if you want this blood band thing to happen, maybe you just make it like a separate line, maybe like a more mature line for readers. Just like don't even make a duplicate book, just make it like Wolverine Blood Band edition, and that's it. Kind of like how DC has Black Label, how it's supposed to be their more edgier books. We'll do that with Marvel and just just do all that. And anything that's Blood Band polybagged is that line,
Yeah.
But again, they just don't make money off of that. That's why they're like, let's just do it this way. We're going to say we're
right. No, I was kind of allude to that same thing. So yeah, with the Max line, those titles didn't sell, and that's why that imprint went away. So it's a marketing ploy to try to get people into that. But like you said, Mike, that Wolverine title, the Sabretooth War, so bloody, so graphic, body parts everywhere, people getting killed left and right very violently, and that's not censored or bagged or anything.
Yeah.
It's just you got to go to that level at the very least, and beyond if you're going to black bag it and label it Red Band. So
yeah, absolutely. So I mean, and I'm telling you, it's not the last time we're going to see this. We're going to see more of them. And again, hopefully they tweak it to where there is a difference. Like I would love to see issue 2 of Blood Hunt, and you see this major difference between the two. And that's what I was expecting in the first issue. I was expecting, like Kat said, like curse words, instead of them, how they always blurp out the curse words, actually say the curse words, maybe
it'd almost be
like
more worth it to buy it than it was like, oh, that's fun. It's like, oh, they get the curse. That's like a cool thing to see. But I'm sure there's editorial rules why we can't see that because they're whatever. But I would at least be like a little different.
Well, to me, if you sit there and say explicit content on your comic,
you want explicit content.
Explicit, right? Yeah. You're putting that on there. And for me, I felt like, I was charged, what was it, an extra $1? Was it $1 for that?
Yeah, it was. And also, again, you got the safe for work, whatever they call it, the standard edition.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I don't know. It's we'll see what happens in the future with it. But when it comes to Wolverine itself, just the title in general, whether it's Red Band or not, of course I'll pick up the two because just to do a comparison. And I know that's what they want us to do, but I'm just excited for that title. I think that would be that's going to be a really good one.
I'm more excited for that title than it being a Red Band book.
Me too.
Yeah, exactly. Same. I mean, superstar creative team, Greg Capullo on Wolverine. I mean, that's going to be fun. Hopefully, it's a good series.
If there is a darker comic that you would like to see, what would it be? Is there a
Dazzler?
Dazzler. Explicit.
Yeah, Dazzler. Explicit from Marvel. I mean, Spider-Man, because that's fun. That's different. I've never seen that before.
Dark Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like a character or characters that you don't typically see, push the envelope like that. Like if you say Punisher, it's like, oh, we've seen that with Punisher. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So you want to see it like with the Avengers or with Spider-Man or, with characters like that you don't normally associate with that kind of thing. Yeah, for sure.
You could definitely see it in the X-Men, though, just in general, too, certain characters with their abilities. Like, think about Psylocke, that would be freaking pretty cool, too.
Yeah. Or like
Mayday Parker having a Red Band? I don't know that.
I know. I have a question here. It said, Mike, since you have a great love for Daniel Warren Johnson, and same with the rest of the cast, too, Title Comics, I was wondering if you got his first work as Extremely, and if you did do the publisher of that given title.
Yeah, so it's Skybound. They acquired the rights. I don't think it was I think it was a webtoon or webcomic originally, so it wasn't a publisher at all. But now it's Skybound. Now it's Image. But yeah, they just had a Kickstarter for it. I didn't back it because it was honestly pretty pricey. But but it looks cool. If I see a cheaper price for it, maybe I'd get it.
The first thing sorry, Brent.
No, I was just gonna say I just looked it up on Image's site, and the first issue is you can read it for free online.
Oh, nice.
Cool. The first thing I ever read by Daniel Warren Johnson was Murder Falcon. And I remember I was like, Murder Falcon, you guys got to freaking read it. And you're like, no, thanks. No, I'm not doing it. And the title is great. The title is freaking good. I bet you if you read it.
I read it in a trade. I read it after the fact. I don't remember. Yeah, I remember liking it. It was Murder Falcon was the one with the dad, right? There was one where he has maybe I didn't remember.
No, he's like he's the guy with the rock and roll guitar, and he
maybe I didn't read Murder Falcon. What was the one he did after that?
Do a Powerbomb.
Really?
Oh, Beta Ray Bill.
One in between.
Do a Powerbomb. Beta Ray Bill. He did the Wonder Woman series.
You know what? Maybe I'm thinking of I think I might be thinking of Donny Cates' book. That there was one where he's like his dad. I don't know who did the art for that. So I feel like whoever, maybe it wasn't Darren Warren Johnson. I was just thinking of him. Maybe I was thinking of another title. Oh, God Country is what I was thinking of. Who did the art for that?
That's Donny Cates.
Diane G. Shaw. So it's not Daniel Warren Johnson. So I don't think I did read Murder Falcon.
Murder Falcon's really good. A lot of you talk about emotion, the character beats. That's a book that you need to read. It's really freaking good. Really good. It hits you hard, man. It's like Do a Powerbomb in many ways, No,
I should catch up with that.
This is like before people even knew who Daniel Warren Johnson was, and it was it was really good.
See, the first thing I read was Beta Ray Bill, and I hated it.
I know you hated it, and I loved it. Yeah, I loved it too.
So, Do a Powerbomb came along. I was like, well, it's wrestling. I got to check it out.
Yeah,
and then
that was
next. We all fell in love with it.
Once people read that, they were like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about Extremity?
Yeah, it's Extremity. Yes.
I think if we saw it for a cheap price, maybe, but right now, let me look at the Kickstarter. So the Kickstarter, just to give you a little insight, Kickstarter, I believe, was it was a signature edition of it. So it was a pricier edition. So to get the book, oh my God, literally the lowest you could get was $150.
Oh wow.
Damn.
Yeah, it was like really
Um,
expensive.
I did post a link to the Image Comics page on it in the chat, so anyone that wants to check it out there can check it out and read the first issue.
We had another.
Did Daniel Warren Johnson do Jurassic League? He did, right?
He did, and he did it with somebody else though. It wasn't just him. I don't remember who else was attached to it.
I remember you liked the first issue, but I feel like you dropped off after that.
No, I read more.
You read all of it?
I think, but I just remember it wasn't him all the way through.
That makes sense. All right. Well, I think we are. Going to move on to. Sorry, I saw. Give me 1 second. All right, just looking at a comment. I think we're gonna move on to our news of the show, but also I have a Kickstarter going on, so we'll talk about the Kickstarter first. So let's do Kickstarter, and then we'll talk about like our overall. We have some news about the show, so we thought we'll talk about it here. But let me screen share. All right. So here is my current Kickstarter. It's going to be ending on Thursday. If you like detective stories, this is the last case of Devin and Taylor. So if you like Nancy Drew or Hardy Boys, it puts that on its head. And the story is not about who did it, but why this person did it. So go check it out. Again, you only have until Thursday to check that out. But yeah, let's start talking about the actual news of the show. So Mike, do you want to intro what we're going to be talking about?
Yeah, so guys, this kind of sucks, but it happens. We've decided to make this
every year
type of thing. And it's honestly, it's really, I would say mostly because of me. Every year I go into my summer season when it comes to teaching tennis. It's going to actually affect my channel as well. And I'll make a separate announcement video there. But what's going to happen is we will not do this show during the summer, except maybe like once a month and until like mid-August. Just for the pure reason is I'm working, teaching tennis 8 hours every single day, 5 days a week, and then working on a 6-day, 4 hours. So there's a lot going on in that particular summer. And I just, as hot as it is out there, how exhausted I'll be, and actually how hot it is in this garage during the summertime, it makes it very hard. And I know last year we were trying to do the show and we always canceled and we kind of left you guys hanging. And so we don't want to do that this year. We want to make sure that we let you guys know this. And we will give you the dates as well on the days that we're going to do the show as well. So I know Kat has the dates here.
Yeah, unless Brent, you have it too. Brent, go if you have them.
I do either one.
Yeah,
that's fine. And I had something else I was going to say about it, but I can't remember what it was. Oh yeah, we will be here next week, by the way.
Yes.
But that'll be the last week and then before our break. So just so you know, the tentative dates, because just in case something changes, but the tentative dates that we will be back is June 25th. July 30th and August 20th will be when we return to our regular schedule. So
yeah, so it's honestly, it's not even going to be that long. It's only 2 months, and we're going to be there at least twice during those 2 months. So the weeks we're taking off is six weeks. And yeah, Mike gets busy with his schedule. Also, me and Brand have busy summer schedules. That's why it's hard to even promise a duo. So it's just like, and we've done that in the past where Mike wouldn't be able to go on, and we're like, all right, me and Brant, we're going to do it. And just always fell through because summer just gets so busy, either my con season or life gets busy. So it is just the best for all of us. And that's why we're going to pick a date. That way we could all join and all just be like, no, this is the date we're going to do our show. So we're not leaving you completely hanging. So we are going to at least have one episode a month. And we're trying to pick the month the week that has good books. And honestly, like that will also be the time where we'll talk about like whichever books you want us to talk about. If it's a book from like 2 weeks ago, we'll still talk about it and be like, oh, this big book came out, so we're going to do it. So
we can highlight some of the favorites, that's what we can do. So it'll be a little bit different, but it's like look at it as a regular TV show, right?
It's our summer break.
Right. And you just go on your summer break, and then we return back in the fall for a new season. And that's basically what we're going to be doing.
Yeah. When we came back, we finally admitted that we couldn't keep up with the show, and we just kind of took a break, an unofficial break last year, and we dubbed this season 5. So even though we've been doing this for 10, 11 years.
Yeah.
But for Comic Book Weekly, it was season 5.
Yeah.
So we'll be back for season 6 in August.
Yeah. And as you could see too, something we've been very conscious of is that we try to be more consistent because of that. And because of this schedule that we've been able to put in, we've been able to be more consistent, and all three of us have been able to do the show more. So this break also just helps us to be on the show more and more consistently.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we are gonna jump into the news, the comic books now. So and also what's fun is that next week or tomorrow, I feel like there are some big books coming out. So it'll be fun to end the season on.
You want to talk about big, right, dude? There's I think I had 20 something books on my pull list, and I think I'm legitimately taking off books because there's just they're okay, but they're not fantastic. And I just can't buy 24 books. I need to stop doing that. I need to go max 20 and, ideal 15, but there's no way this week I'll be able to read 24.
I have 13. I even have a lot for myself. And I took away Blood Hunt. I took away maybe 1 or 2 titles where I'm like, dude, there's a lot of books coming out this week. So again, luckily we'll ending the show with a big haul.
Yep.
Yeah. I had 20 this week. I mean,
yeah, I did too.
Crazy.
I did too. Yep.
Can't keep doing that though.
All right, so let's kick it off now with these comics. So we're gonna start with, let's see, let's just start with a book that Brant and I read. So this is Red Coat. This is issue 2. So now we get into more of a little bit more of the meat and potatoes of this story about Simon Pure. Being dug up by freaking 12-year-old Albert Einstein, and he's running away, and he winds up getting hurt by this mysterious axe, and his powers are going haywire. And now we find out that the dude's got 3 days left to live because of this this mysterious axe. But in order to find out that information, he had to go visit another guy that has immortality as well. So the book is good, but I am not a history buff, and the time frame and all that stuff, it just kind of takes me out of the book a little bit. And there's a lot of reading to do in this book to explain what this story is about. It's not a bad book, right? Not at all. I mean, I think I rated it a B, but it's just out of those 3, Geiger and Rook Exodus, for me, it's just my least favorite. And I don't like the way Albert Einstein talks because I can't, his accent is so heavy. I can't read that and comprehend that.
Gotcha. Yeah. It's the heavy German accent.
Yeah.
And I will say the other immortal, the identity of that immortal was pretty interesting. It's wow, really, that guy?
Right.
So if you do know anything about history, it's a big deal. But I do for the history buffs, they're sprinkling in stuff like that would be relevant to this character, especially with his history and everything. And I do think it's a fun concept. It's a fun book, but I do agree with you. It is a lot, and it is probably my least of the 3, but I still really enjoy it.
Right.
So it's just with those kind of books that are very, period piece, if you're not really into that period, it's really hard to kind of get into the story a little bit more. And that's never been my favorite era either. So it's okay, I like the story. I like the characters. I like the concept, but I feel you, Mike, is what I'm trying to say. I understand.
Yeah.
But I do like it still.
Yeah. And I do too. I think it's a really good book. It's it's well written, but it's just I think it's just the history that takes me out of it, just because I'm not that guy,
Right. Yeah. Makes sense.
All right. So let's talk about before we get into action, let's talk about Ultimate X-Men issue 3. So I like this book, man. I think it's good. And we get another character. We get Nico in this book, and it's the first time that the word mutants now has been used in this
3
comic.
issues in. We're finally
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
It's an
And,
interesting book
and
because like it's I like the Nico stuff. I think it's cool, but damn, it's still slow, man. This is still a slow burn.
But you also
It's-
get the story of May Storm also, like how she became
Yeah.
how she got her powers in this book too.
I don't know if I care
See,
yet. Like I don't know if I
I'm
care
very-
about her.
I'm very confused though, because it seemed like she got the powers by not being a mutant, but by some other outside force. And then Nico, who traditionally is not a mutant, is the one saying mutant. And I'm just so confused by this book.
But
And
then
I
her
was
parents are also psychics or
Yeah.
something, right?
yeah, psychics or wizards or something. I don't know what they were. I don't remember. But I was really hoping that Nico would be my anchor into this series.
Same.
And then this issue, I'm like, yeah, I might be done.
I
It's
felt
just
kind
not
of
for
the
me.
same because Nico
Yeah.
doesn't even feel like Nico. She's like a little
Yeah.
bitchy. I don't know. I might give it one more
I mean,
issue.
she was
but,
in one page. You saw her 1-2
Yeah,
pages.
true.
That's it.
but you felt a vibe from her. You're just like she
She seemed a little snobby, but that's just
Yeah.
like, again, that's 1-2 pages. You're not going to get the full character deal out of 1 or 2 pages, right?
It's
I
just
mean,
I just feel like the storytelling it is Nico from the Runaways.
Yes.
What were you gonna say, Brent?
That's all. I was going to address that. Yeah. Go ahead.
but don't
Yeah,
forget,
no.
it's a different universe, Nico.
No,
Right.
which is cool. I don't mind that. I just it's just something about the tone of the book that just feels unexciting. It just feels like it just feels slow. And I think if I felt really grabbed onto a certain character, I'd be like, oh, I love the slowness. I like this
Right.
pace. But there's no one that's really piquing my interest.
Right.
That's my problem too. It's like the pacing is really off for me, and I don't. It's not even like the art style and the storytelling.
No, I
style,
don't mind
all
the
that
art.
stuff. I get what they're going for, but it's just the pacing and none of the characters, like you said, are like grabbing me. And again, I was hoping that would be Nico, and even though we saw very little of Nico, it's just like that's just not enough.
So what made you?
It's what you were
go on,
just.
Brent.
I'm sorry. It's
No, go
what
on.
you were talking about, Mike. I gotta drop books that I'm not loving
Right.
at this point, and this might be one of those. But go ahead.
Right.
So,
I was gonna ask Mike, what did you feel like was better about this issue compared to previous ones?
So this one, I felt like, again, the whole May Storm storyline I thought was interesting because it seemed like, she experienced a stressful situation, kind of like maybe in the old X-Men comics where she actually got scratched by the cat or whatever it was. And it looked like something awoke in her to trigger her power. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because as soon as she had a stressful situation with her abusive father who cheated on her mother, on her mom, sorry. That's when she wound up flipping out and wound up using her powers for the first time uncontrollably. Kind of like how what's her face Armor did when she was going to get hit by the car. So it's kind of similar there. So I kind of feel like, that's what I liked about the story. It wasn't the Nico part because the Nico, I didn't get to see enough of her. All we know is that she is kind of like psychic because she, reads their minds or whatever it is. Like she knew that they were mutants, and it's kind of like, how do you know? So she obviously knows something that the others don't. So, and that's what is making me curious about the book.
no, I get that. I completely get that, and I get what the name changes is saying too about it being a soap opera and stuff. And it's just, and I'm fine with that. X-Men are a soap opera. You're absolutely right, but there's just something about the book that's just it doesn't feel like it's for me, and that's
Right.
fine.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, and that's what's good though. Like, there's X-Men books across the planet, right? There's so many of them, and there's going to be something for you in this world, this ultimate version of this X-Men. If this is the one that you want to jump on, that's great because this is a jumping on point for you. No history, nothing else attached to it. It's right here for you, a starting point. And if you like that starting point, and if you like this version of the X-Men, then this is going to be good for you. If you like all the other stuff, then there's got to be something there for you too. So,
yeah.
All right.
I do want to address real quick this comment about Madam Web being the #1 movie on Netflix. I did see that, and that's hilarious.
It's a bad, great movie. Like it's just like it's
Yeah.
so fun to watch because it's so
it
bad.
was on Netflix. It is on Netflix.
Yeah.
Now?
It dropped on Netflix like late last week, I think, or early this week.
I'm gonna watch it and see how bad
you
it is.
should. It really is bad, but it's fun. It's fun bad. It's just like a good time. I recommend it.
I wouldn't even say it. Yeah, I wouldn't even say it's bad. Like I think Morbius is much worse. I think the fact you'll understand when you see it, but it's very much everything you saw in the trailer was just a big tease that never really happens.
Sure.
So that's the problem with it for me. It's like, really?
So I just like the little inside jokes that this taxi cab's following her. Like it's just a weird movie. Yeah, it's such a fun. I will say there's some parts that drag a little bit, but it's a fun movie. Watch it, especially because I was telling this to Mike. I go see movies a lot. I'm literally drinking from an AMC cup right now. There's not been a lot of good movies this year. So like a fun bad movie could be it. You know, it's just like sometimes you just want a good time at the movie theater. And believe it or not, Madam Web was one of the better times in the movie theater this year.
Very cool. I'll definitely check it out. All right, so let's go to the book that we did. Another book we all read, and that's Action Comics issue 1000. What is it? 65 at this point?
65.
Yeah. So House of Brainiac part 3, right? So yeah, I liked it. I thought it was good. My least favorite part of this comic was like the Lobo and Superman stuff.
Me too.
When they're in the bar and then those guys come and they're like, oh, you can be the main man, but you gotta just face off against Superman. And I feel like that's just a distraction from the main story. And I like the other portion of it with, Kara and Connor trying to escape. And then Brainiac has his city that he shrunk and he made it big again. And that's why he's creating this queen and all that other stuff. And I like that. I thought that was cool. And the artwork is so good in this.
Artwork is so gorgeous.
Yeah. Especially when this is what you want from an event. You want good art. You want characters that actually move. And even in the end, like I don't love the Lobo and Superman stuff, but I like that Lobo's like teaming up with these people to like go against Superman. Like, oh, that was even fun. And then obviously Supergirl and Connor teaming up with bad guys. Like it's just an overall fun book. It's just what an event should be.
Yep. Yeah, and it's funny because Superman 14 is going to be Superman versus Lobo, so it's like the whole premise of the issue,
right?
But I agree completely. It's this issue lived up to the name of the comic too, because it was like tons of action in this, but it was action that served the story, and it was just fun, like you all said, Kara and Superboy teaming up and with the villains and everything, and breaking out of the bottles and running around like miniature and stuff. It was just fun and so gorgeous.
Yeah,
this is a good event so far.
Absolutely. All right, so with that being said, let's go on to the number 5 comic. And Kat, what was your number 5?
Already talked about it. Action Comics.
Okay. What about you, Brent?
Think I'm gonna go see. It's hard because I liked like 14 of my books really well.
That's good though.
So I had a really hard time with my top 5. I'm gonna go with X-Men Forever. It wasn't as good as last issue, but it was still pretty solid. I haven't been enjoying this whole Fall of Krakoa thing, but the last 2 issues of this book have been really good. So I don't have much to say about it because it was like one of the first books I read, and all I remember is Hope fighting the Phoenix. But it was another emotional issue that kind of tied all these threads together between like all the different characters trying to come together and bring things back to a peaceful place. So
we did have a question about Action Comics before we moved on. I passed on Action, but I'm getting Superman. Do I need to read Action? This is one of those cases that you do. They really do tie into each other a lot. So you do need to read Action and Superman to understand the event.
They're literally in parts in those 2
books.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a classic event in that way. Like back in the day, that is how
like Executioner's Song or something. Part 1's in X-Men, Part 2's in X Factor.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
Death of Superman took place in multiple in the Superman
just
books.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My number 5 was also Action Comics.
Nice.
Cool. Glad that question was smacked in the middle then.
Uh-huh.
We do have a question here from Manuel. With DC having multiple events in the past few years, what's your favorite comic book event across all of comic books you've read? I mean, everyone's going to say Blackest Night, and I'm going to say Blackest Night,
true.
right?
Yeah,
that's my favorite event.
Let's put Blackest Night aside because obviously that's all our
Sure.
favorites.
Favorite event. I hate events.
I mean,
like
War of the
Original
Realms,
Sin.
maybe?
War of the Realms was a good recent event. Which one?
War of the Realms was Original Sin is what Mike said.
Original Sin. Okay.
Yeah.
The one you dropped, you hated.
Yeah.
Mike Diodato art.
Yeah.
Wasn't a fan of that one.
Watcher gets his eyeball ripped out.
Right. That was a good one for me too.
Yeah.
I liked Secret Invasion until the end. I liked the build up for it, but it didn't ultimately end well. But I really liked the concept of it.
And I liked King in Black too.
Hmm.
King in Black was good, and it had a good build up to it. That's what was pretty awesome to it.
I personally like one of my all time favorites is the original Age of Apocalypse. I just still love that. So.
Beast World was a pretty recent one that was pretty solid. I'm not saying it's my favorite event of all time, but like that was a pretty solid event. But yeah, War of the Realms I really love just because of it being such a buildup of the Thor run from Jason Aaron, but then also having ramifications again to this day that it still affects the Marvel universe with Jane being Valkyrie.
I remember I liked Black Vortex too. That was
good.
That was actually pretty good.
I remember the time I really liked it, but again, is it stuff that really affected the Marvel universe?
It did for a while.
It did, but not anymore.
Yeah, no, not anymore.
Well, for Iceman, it did because it showed him he had more abilities than he thought he did. So I think he kind of grew from that. But
but honestly, Blackest Night for me is like, and it was like the first event. That was like one of the first events that I read. Oh, okay. Wait, that was one of the first events that I read when I got back into comics, right? And then I would say like another one is Civil War too.
Yeah.
Civil War was pretty good. So
we have a question about Secret Wars 2015. Believe it or not, I know you guys love that event. I like some of the miniseries, but I did not like that event. So it was not my thing.
I like when there's an event and it has a good build up. So I thought that one had it build up nicely with all the incursions and all that stuff, right? And then like it actually happened. And then we just came across Battle World and they went all out with that shit. There's your map. Here's your new worlds. Here's your spin-off series. And I thought that was very creative in my eyes.
Yeah. I hated reusing the title. And I thought it was like, and doing the whole, it's Iron Man again. And it's, this time it's Captain Marvel instead of, Captain America. But aside from that, what they did with it and like you said, the world and everything was very creative. Yeah.
Okay. So we did our number 5 now. So let's talk about Batman and Robin, issue 9.
I don't know, man. I this book used to be like the best book on shelves, and now it feels like 2 different series. The art is not strong. The stuff that I want to like the school stuff, is not strong. I just don't like this book.
I can say that like the art doesn't bother me about the book.
Yeah, I like the art actually.
The issue with the comic is like, when you got done reading this issue, were you expecting anything that like Shush, yes, was connected to Hush, right? And the principal was the one that taught Damien, and
which we already knew.
Which we already knew. And I think if you're reading this book, you're thinking, no, hopefully it's something different, right? And it's not so predictable. The writing was on the wall from the second you got into the story arc, and it was just revealed here. So it made it very like flat, in my opinion.
The only thing different was he thought the principal was both his former teacher and Shush, and Shush ended up being the teacher. That was the only like little twist, but
Right.
I agree. Most of it's predictable, and it just kind of seems like it's spinning its wheels a little bit.
Yeah.
I was hoping the reintroduction of I cannot remember her name, his girlfriend.
Flatline,
Flatline.
yeah.
Flatline. Yeah, I was hoping that would like lift up the book a little bit, but
Even her voice is
she
not
doesn't-
great, and she had such a strong
Right.
voice in that previous series.
Yeah,
written
that's
by the same
basically what I was gonna
person.
right. Yeah.
The best part for me was like when they got in the food fight. Like I actually loved that part.
That was
Like,
fun,
let's
yeah.
get the attention. We'll get in a fight. No, we'll get noticed. No, let's go do this fight. And then they do a food fight. So that was cute. But besides that, there wasn't anything there that blew me out of the water. And then I'm just like over the man bat stuff. Like,
oh my god,
I was over the man
long.
bat stuff from issue 1. Yeah.
right.
It's been so long. Yeah, no, I'm disappointed with the series. I'll look. I'm gonna continue reading it. I don't know, but it's not my series. I also just feel like it's like spinning its wheels
at the moment, right?
Yeah, at the moment, but hopefully a new arc will. I mean, it's the same writer that wrote Robin, so I could only hope it gets a little better.
Right.
All right, so now we're gonna move on to Doom. This is issue 1.
I got this on whim, so I actually did get it.
Okay.
I actually like this book. I thought it was really good. The artwork was just
The art was good.
insane. It was crazy. I thought it was wild how like the Marvel universe is coming to the end because of Galactus, and then obviously he succumbs to his hunger, and then he wants to just destroy the entire universe, and everyone's trying to stop him, and then Val finds Doom and then kind of just like builds him back up again, and just like, I don't know, man. I thought it was kind of cool. I think for a one shot, I think they did a nice job with it. And I just like how like explosive it was. I liked it in that way.
I liked it.
You were most
go
anticipating
ahead.
this, right? No, I was just gonna ask. This was like one in your most
Yeah.
anticipated? No.
Yeah, it was. I really liked it. I didn't love that they left it so open-ended. I would have rather had a conclusion to it, but or it been like a 2 or 3 issue thing or something. But I did really enjoy the relationship between Doom and Valeria Richards.
Yeah.
And I the whole history between those two, and she's the one that sees the good in him, and it just played out here. And it was I thought that was beautiful, their relationship, and the way that she was the one that brought him back and all that stuff. But I would have preferred a little more closure on it, but I understand why they didn't. So
yeah, it's like you can only do so much with a one shot, right?
Yeah.
And
if you enjoyed his run on Fantastic Four,
yeah,
a lot.
That's what I was going to
True.
say. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Absolutely.
I'm going to say it's not my type of storytelling, but I respected this book a lot because again, it did a lot. It did a lot for the universe. A lot of people were like, "Oh, is this like the new Secret Wars?" Like you could definitely tell on that. And again, the art was really good. So it's not my particular type of story, but I respect the book.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right. So then let's go to number 4. Let's go with Brant. What was your number 4?
Mine was Miles Morales, issue 20. This was just a fun, like, one-off story that was kind of like this. They all went out to this art fair, this art market, and got into some trouble because there was some, nobody villain trying to steal some stuff, and had to jump in and save the day and all this stuff. But they had shift, and they were babysitting the little sister, and Ganke was there, and Miss Marvel was there, and it was just fun. It was just fun. That's all it was. So I enjoyed it quite a bit.
The one thing I hated was we got to see Hightail again. I'm like, God,
yeah,
dang.
That's true. Yeah,
I was like, please stop with her. And then you saw the vampires at the end of it, just reminding you, hey, get ready because that's where we're going next.
But I appreciated that they did that because it was like, okay, this wasn't just a thing, and then next issue it's like throwing us for a loop.
Yeah.
I like that they at least gave us that little lead into it. But I didn't love seeing her again. But
yeah, and I think Miles has already dealt with vampires in his series already too, with Blade and Hightail being a vampire and all that stuff.
Right.
So it's just going back to that. So
right.
Yeah, but I agree. It was a fun issue. I enjoyed it. It was like a decompressed kind of like palate cleanser after what happened, and it's cool to see shift with Billy. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. That was your number 4. So let's get Kat's number 4.
Mine's Dark Ride. So this is the last issue of Dark Ride. I wanted this to be higher, but it did feel a little rushed in some elements. I mean, look, I still like the series a lot. I liked how they ended it. It was, interesting to see the fall of this empire and what the new version of it looks like and who took over and who didn't. But it felt very open-ended. It did feel like, okay, we kind of have to wrap this up more than like, this is my blood, sweat, and tears. This is what I've always wanted the ending to be. So I don't know. It was a little disappointing, but I still like it as a whole series.
I agree. I thought the ending of this was definitely rushed. I felt like there was so much more story to tell. And I think Joshua Williamson said, I got way too much to do.
That's what I think happened too.
And I just can't finish this book. That's why you saw delays. That's why you got this very rushed ending, because I felt like he crammed all this in this last book. And I was just like, oh man, that kind of sucks. I liked the ending. I liked, that they did conclude it. Was it the ending I was hoping for? I don't think so. Not 100%.
Same.
Was it bad? No, but it didn't live up to like the rest of the series.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. And then my number 4 was Action Comics. So we definitely.
I thought your number 5 was Action.
Yeah.
No. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll tell you why in a second. My number 4 was Doom. Was
okay.
There's a book that I read digitally that I don't have, so it threw me off. So yeah, Doom was my number 4. I really liked it. Okay, so let's see. Let's talk about. We talked about Miles. Let's talk about Green Lantern, issue 11. This is a good book, man.
We knew it was going to happen in the end because we knew it was had to happen in this issue. But if you're a Carol fan like me, this is a great issue. But even if you're not, like, the plot is so interesting. I love what they're doing with the bigger lanterns. And destroying them, I think, is so interesting. It's like you just said, Mike. It's a good book and good art. It is the best superhero book on stands. I don't care what people say. It's just so good.
It is very good. I really enjoyed, that whole build up with, her like running off to get married, but the whole time she's thinking about how it was obvious. Yeah. And it just, and then all the stuff going on around that, and with the Star Sapphires and all that stuff, and you see where it's headed, and it's like you get excited, and it doesn't get quite there, and it's like but you want it to get there. So yeah, it was a fun issue. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I love how this book is just getting back to all the other Green Lantern Corps, and I think that is going to make it a lot of fun once again. And I love how the lanterns themselves, the Green Lanterns, are trying to work together. They got this big plan, and it just like blew up in their face, and just everything about it is just such a good comic. And again, developing on those emotional, beats like Brant talked about with Carol, thinking about those old days. I'm just like, man, she's running off to get married to this guy, and she still loves Hal. I was just like,
she's trying to convince herself.
Yeah, it's tough.
Ready to move on. Yeah.
But that ring now is going to tell you otherwise,
Sure.
So really cool, man. I can't wait for the next issue for sure. All right. So now we'll go on to number 3. Kat, what was your number 3?
Mine was Miss Marvel, Mutant Menace. I was actually pleasantly surprised with this one. I don't know if I love the romance between her and Red Dagger, but I like seeing the zombie X-Men. And there's a big cliffhanger in the end where Inhumans show up. So you're like, oh, okay, they're still involved. Okay, that's interesting. So I liked it. I think the art's good. I thought it was a solid book.
that was the most interesting part of this for me.
Oh,
I hate
okay.
Red
You felt
Dagger.
differently. Oh man, I don't
Yeah,
like him either. He was the worst part of
yeah.
the issue.
That was the problem because he was the most of the issue. I just don't like
Sure.
Red Dagger, never have. But
I
yeah,
like her
the
conversation with him, but I don't like him.
okay,
That's why that was
right.
like why I still had it up, because again, most of it was still X-Men, most of it was still like Inhumans. I hate him as a character because I don't think they have chemistry.
No, and like the whole time I'm reading it, I'm like, subconsciously rooting for Bruno.
Right, me
This whole
too.
issue, it's like, no, Bruno, Bruno, Bruno. But yeah, no, the zombie X-Men were fun because she's having to fight Cyclops, who she's obviously had history with, and then the Inhumans show up, and it's like, oh, okay, they're addressing this, and that makes sense because her powers have been out of whack, and so now they're going to explain why. So that's going to be interesting.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, and then my number 3 is Uncanny Valley issue.
That's
2.
mine too, actually.
Is it? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I this book is just fun, man. It just reminds me of like Looney Tunes, right? Like Roadrunner, Wile E. Coyote aspect of it.
But then
and
even
I just like
He-Man at the end.
Yeah, and I just like also like just like what's his name? It's Oliver, right? That's the main character. Yeah, where he's just trying to figure out like how come people see you differently and this and that, and I just like hearing that whole story, and then the mom's all frantic and everything, but just the whole book in itself is just so unique, and that's I think what I like about it.
I like
we're going, Brent.
Sorry. I like that they could have gone a different direction with it, and I'm glad they didn't. Like, it could have been goofy. You know what I mean? It could have been just like bizarre and goofy and everything. And then I don't think I would have liked it as much, but because it's grounded and, there's more intense scenes and stuff, like the mom being, freaked out that her son's missing and all this stuff. I thought there was a good balance between the goofiness of the cartoon world and the seriousness of this kid is a real kid with real problems and stuff. So yeah, it's a fun series so far.
I thought surprisingly this issue was even better than issue 1. I loved issue 1. Like, I thought they did exposition so well in this issue where they explain like the powers, but not in a way that's boring. And then again, you have an interesting cliffhanger if you like He-Man and see other versions of cartoons. It keeps your attention really well. The art's good. I really liked it. That was a good issue.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we did number 3. So let's go to Amazing Spider-Man Blood Hunt issue 1.
Don't need to pick it up.
What?
That's my opinion.
What is with them in this like whole Beyond stuff? They keep wanting to like bring back Beyond and just the characters that are involved with it, and then there's nothing special about this book. Unfortunately, it's like, hey, let's go find Michael Morbius and let's go get the cure for the vampires.
Like, who cares about him?
But what I don't like about it, like Misty Knight felt out of character. So she was just like, ooh, let's get Mr. Mike. Who calls Morbius Mr. Mike? And then like
that was kind of fun, actually.
Did you really? I just and then oh, let me call Lizard the Lizzie. So let me call him that.
And why was Lizard even in, like, it's such a weird hodgepodge of characters where I'm like, oh, Dark Dragon, that's really cool. Why are they here? And they don't, I'm like, yeah, why are they here? And the Lizard series, like, why is he here? And it's just like, these are such cool characters to match them all up. And it just, they never prove why they should all be matched up.
The Daughters of the Dragon were working with Beyond. So that kind of ties them into that.
Not the idea of, I should have explained this better. Not the idea of actually why, because plot wise, sure. But I mean, literally, like, character wise, like, what is interesting about them all together? Because that I wasn't really sold on.
That's what I mean. It's like, let's throw in Beyond. And it's just like, you could have put in a bunch of different characters in here to make this story maybe more interesting. And it's like, we're going to throw in these guys.
Yeah, I honestly think Beyond kind of ties into this whole vampire thing somehow. And I think that's probably why they threw it in here. I thought this book was better than I expected it to be, actually. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, and I thought it was a decent tie-in to the event personally. So I
I
had
wasn't
fun
a
with it.
fan. I just wasn't a
Yeah.
fan. I didn't like Misty Knight. I didn't like Lizard. I didn't like really any of the characters in there. I thought Spider-Man maybe was all right, but it just, I don't know, it didn't do anything for me. I'll continue to read it because it's Spider-Man, of course,
I don't think I will continue to read it because I'm not reading Blood Hunt. I was just like, yeah, it's Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man, but I'm like, I'm reading enough Spider-Man. I don't think this is gonna really connect to anything, if I'm being honest. It just feels so unconnected.
Right.
Besides beyond an arc that is done and over with.
Gotcha. All right.
What is the best and worst decision ever done for a character? Well, I think making Miss Marvel a mutant probably one of the worst decisions.
I don't know if that
Best
ranks as the
decision.
worst for me, but
I mean, what I'm trying to think of, like recent memory.
That's kind of hard
Ben
to like come up
bringing
with
back Ben Reilly is probably not the best decision.
Ben Reilly becoming Chasm, like I don't know.
I mean that's a
best
pretty bad one.
decisions though, like fucking but fucking Jane Foster becoming Valkyrie is fun. That was cool.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think a lot of people would say worst is aging up John Kent.
Sure, but honestly, that's one I feel pretty neutral about. I'm not. It's not one I will fight for.
Yeah, at the time,
maybe people would like Hail Hydra, Cap.
Yeah,
sure, but also like it doesn't affect the character now. So
no, but at the time, like if you thought about, people were like, "What?" People were flipping out over that.
Wally West killing Roy Harper in Heroes in Crisis. I think that was the worst thing they could have ever done with that character.
Here, Tevius dead, of course, one more day.
Sure. But also it's so hard to even say that one anymore because you have the Ultimate Universe version of them.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move forward now. So we'll talk about our number 2. Cal, what was your number 2?
Mine is Green Lantern. We already talked about it.
And Brent?
Action Comics, we already talked about.
My number 2 is actually a book I haven't read in a long time, but this book interests me, and this was Ice Cream Man. I don't even remember what issue it was. But the reason why is that it's a story about a car accident that happens, right? Car hits a truck, family of 4. It's an accident that takes place. It's 5 seconds long, but it's telling this story in 28 pages of a comic book. And the writer of this book is saying this is what decompressed storytelling is. It's very brilliant, right? And he goes into detail of what each person in the family is experiencing while they're in this car crash. Now, granted, all these characters die. He makes it very apparent. And it's a mom, a dad, and the 2 kids. And you get to see the father's life flash before his eyes. Same with the mom. And then what was going on with the son and then the daughter. And just like all the experiences that they were going through, just even while that crash was happening, like, certain details of them. And just like, I can't even begin to really explain it, but it's very dark, but the way it's told is very masterful. You know what I'm saying? And it's very true because an accident can seem like a lifetime if you've ever been in a serious car accident. And that's what this was like, but it was only 5 seconds long. So for instance, like I was in a car accident when I was younger with my ex-girlfriend, and we were leaving the development. We didn't even put our seatbelts on yet. So we were leaving the development. We were just starting to go faster. The person in front just stopped short. We rear-ended them, and both our heads hit the windshield. And then I remember we were listening to a song, right? It was Nothing Else Matters from Metallica, and the note stuck in the head for like what seemed like a minute. And then literally, obviously the accident was like that, you know what I'm saying? So it's like I kind of related to that. And it was so interesting, this comic, the way it was written. It's not even like horror, but it's what makes you think about it. It's like, that's real life. Like that actually happens. You know what I'm saying? So it's really, really crazy.
Sorry, I was laughing at a comment.
Me too. I was
No,
reading that. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry, Bobby.
Yeah, sorry.
But at least
No,
you can
that's
laugh about it.
that sounds really poignant though, Mike. That sounds like a cool story.
Yeah, it is definitely cool. And at the end, he's just like, so yes, this accident was 5 seconds long and it took 28 pages to tell this story. So it was really wild.
Yeah, no, it's artsy.
That's cool.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll just dive into our number one now, right? So is that where we're at? Okay.
Yes.
So my number one was actually Green Lantern. I love this book. It was like my top pick by far this week. When it comes to superhero books, it's definitely in my, I don't want to say it's my favorite, but it is definitely my favorite DC book by far, in my opinion, at least. So let's see. Let's go with Kat. Because Green Lantern was your number two. Oh,
yes, Uncanny Valley was my number one. Great. It was hard because I really loved Green Lantern, but I just thought it's so hard to do an issue 2 of a book and be successful at it and actually be better than your issue 1 that was already really good. So that's why I inched up Uncanny Valley instead.
Cool. And what about you, Brent?
Green Lantern.
Cool. All right. Very solid. All right. So that wraps up. Huh?
Yeah, I was going to ask if you read Monolith, Mike, the Spawn book that came out this week.
I did, and I did not like it.
You didn't like it? Okay, I was just curious if you'd read it or not.
Yeah, I read that in Rat City, and I don't know about Rat City. I'm like on the fence about it because it's so cheap of a comic that I might give it another issue. But like Monolith, I'm not that hardcore of a Spawn fan to continue that.
Gotcha. So I was just curious. I tried it out because it sounded interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's deep in Spawn lore, and I'm like, yeah, I'm lost.
Yeah, me too. It's not for me. Definitely not for me. Okay, so I'll pass it to you, Brent. What's the most anticipated this week?
I thought it was interesting that me and Mike had completely different lists. Like literally not one overlapped. I don't think that ever happened.
Yeah, I know. And I looked at it and I'm like, well, I like this one from Mike and I like this one from Kat. Now I got to find something else, which is how I've constructed mine. But anyway, let's dive into this. We talked about Wonder Woman earlier in the show, so that's your number 3, Kat. Let's go with that one.
Yeah, just I've been really enjoying Wonder Woman, and last issue was great. I don't know if Mike ended up getting to read it because I know the last time you didn't get to read it. It's a really good issue about the lasso of lies and how it worked, and I really enjoyed that one. So excited to see where they take it.
Yeah, same.
Are you dropping Wonder Woman, Mike?
I still have it on my pull, but it's just like one of those books that it's hard for me to get through, man. It's just like it's just I have that so many books, and it's just
it is a dense book if you're not really into it.
Yeah,
right.
I agree.
can see that. Yeah,
and that's the thing. Like, the last issue I read was like that mall issue, and then
which was I only think 2 issues ago.
Yeah,
so it wasn't that long
and then
ago,
we had this issue. And I did not read this issue. And now we have the other issue tomorrow. And now I'm debating if I should pick it up or not because, again, 24 books. Wonder Woman is not a bad story, but it's one of those books I always put to the back burner.
If you're not liking it, then if you're not engrossed by it, then you gotta pick and choose for sure.
Yeah, it's for whatever reason, it's grabbed Kat and I. So.
Yeah, I don't know why either because I don't normally like Wonder Woman, and I'm normally not a huge Tom King fan. So I don't know why we both have been enjoying it so much.
It's so funny, yeah, same. But it's a good book. But let's move on from that. We got Cobra Commander number 5. Mike's. This also almost made my list, and I was like, I got to change it up a little bit. But, this final issue of the miniseries. By the way, related to this, I think you cut it from or maybe it wasn't even on the news story, but I saw something about Scarlet being like the most sold G.I. Joe comic I don't
think it was on the news. Yeah, that's crazy though.
Like 80,000 copies or something are already pre-ordered or whatever.
Really?
That's really
it was like
cool.
really high.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Wow. I wonder why.
I mean, I'm getting it. I'm not the biggest G.I. Joe fan, but I'm like, I want to see what Kelly Thompson does. And I think it probably helps that Kelly
Yeah.
Thompson has now a lot of Eisner's nominations.
Yeah, I mean, are there
True,
multiple
yeah.
variant covers for this book?
Yeah.
Is there?
I mean,
that too. Maybe if
I think
is.
there are. I know, like you said, Kat, there's been like, she got so many Eisner nominations and stuff, and she's been promoting it pretty heavily as well. So,
Gotcha.
but Cobra Commander, yeah,
Cobra Commander. Yes, this is the final issue, which sucks. I don't know where we're gonna go after.
I'm sure they'll tease it at
This
the
is
end.
over. Well, because this story is about him making the deal, obviously, with you would think is Destro, so they can form Cobra. And so in G.I. Joe lore, as you would know that, okay, Cobra's formed from here, and this is how Cobra was formed. This is how it starts. And do you need another Cobra Commander series, right? So it's maybe this is it. This is the one story that they wanted to tell because the rest as a reader. Yeah,
or because Destro's series is also about to come out, they continue that little thread, and kind of where his side of it, how he comes into it. So, it'd be interesting to see how they wrap it up, though. All right, so mine is Feral, which we all love and read too.
Yeah, that's close
number
for me.
3. Yeah, and it's a book people shouldn't sleep on. It's so good. I saw a video of Patton Oswalt was like praising it on Twitter or something. So it's really cool. If you like I don't know. If you like Stray Dogs, you'll love this thing.
Yeah, if you like his other stuff.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
Oh, a book I also decided to drop with, I think because of this week, was Local Man, actually, that Tony Fleeks does.
Really?
I decided to drop that one
starting.
now.
Yeah.
I was like,
Arc,
I haven't enjoyed it in a long time, so.
Yeah, no, I get that. You didn't like that second arc at all. I did like the second half of the second arc, so I'll probably continue it or at least try out the first issue of it. So, all right,
got a question here real quick. I want to answer. Mike, are you still reading Savage Dragon? I feel like I'm still the only one getting it. Yes, I am, and I don't think
it won't be a top pick, but.
All right. Amazing Spider-Man number 50. Another one that I think we're all anticipating, right? But
I'm not going to say it's going to be a great issue, but I was surprised that you guys didn't have it on there. I mean, it's I think this is kind of leading to that Peter Parker and Goblin situation. Maybe there's going to be some big reveals because it's issue 50, which is, again, why I think it's cool that our last episode of the season is going to be next week because it kind of builds into hopefully some big Spider-Man stuff. So I'm anticipating it.
This is a fatty of an issue. I think this
I know.
Pages. Yeah.
Not excited for that. But.
And it's multiple writers, but Marv Wolfman's writing the story in this.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I hope it's not a whole lot of stories.
I know.
Oh man, I hope not. I just want the main story, man. That's all I care about. I hate when there's too many.
I think there's
when it's an anthology.
I think there's 3.
3's that's usual.
It's pushing it right at 3.
Yeah.
I don't even like reading the backup stories of some of the other books. So that's
I know. I agree. It frustrates me because why don't let me ask you guys this? Why don't you like the backup story?
Because they don't seem like they're gonna. Sometimes they do tie in, but most of the time it just feels like it's just a filler story to pad the book.
Like in Action Comics and Green Lantern right now, both of them have backup stories, but they at least relate to what's going on.
Wonder Woman too. You have the Trinity stories. I'm like, I feel like I should read it because it's like, oh, at least it relates to what's going on in the main story. But then there's other times like it might relate to something, but it's so specific, like the Sinister Sun stuff, Wing Green Lantern, where it's just like, okay, if you really like this character or want to get to know it, great. But if you don't, I don't think you need to read it.
Yeah, for sure.
For me, it just changes the pace for me.
That too.
I get into a book, I'm in that book, that story, and then all of a sudden it's like, here you go, here's this, and I'm like, I want to read that right now. I read the book, I read the main story. That's what I care about,
I agree.
In those cases, I will sometimes just like put the book down and like if I want to read the backup story, I'll read it later, but I won't read it like right then.
Right. So. Mr. Negative has a Mr. Positive comment here. I feel like backup stories only really make sense to test new talent before giving them their own book.
That's true
It's
too.
cool.
True in
Yeah.
some cases, but in
Yeah.
other cases, you'll have the same writer writing the backup story.
Or a big writer, and I'm just like, oh, just give me a miniseries at that point, you know?
Yeah, a lot of times it's to push another book or push
Mhm.
another character that they don't think is, getting highlighted, or they're about to launch a book with that character and that kind of stuff. And those are the ones that annoy me. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's go to Void Rivals, another one that almost made my list. That's always on my anticipated list, so let's be honest. But yeah, especially after like the Free Comic Book Day stuff, I'm just getting more and more excited about this. And we're about to see this. I think this is the issue that has the Triple Changer Transformer in it.
Springer.
So yeah, Springer.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
And my prediction is that he's going to come across the two, and he's going to rescue them from the wastelands. And where they go from there, we don't know. But that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I can see that. It's going to be fun regardless. So
yeah,
can't wait for that. All right, so Spider-Gwen, the Ghost Spider, my number 2, your number 1, Kat. I'm really excited for this book. Yeah.
Yeah, what is it gonna be like for her in the 616? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, and it's is it Stephanie Phillips writing this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I really like Stephanie Phillips writing. I love this character. I'm really curious how they make this happen. Like, what if they explore like how she's feeling, logistically, and if they explore how she's feeling, leaving all that behind.
Sure.
So it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, again, anticipate is the best way to put it. So I think it's gonna be my number 1? I don't know, but I'm very curious about how they make it work.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah, me too. And then finally, mine and Mike's number 1 is Rook Exodus. We love that first issue. I cannot wait for this book. This is the best Ghost Machine book, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is a very explosive first issue, just all the way around. Like, everything about it, it's just like the characters, their power sets, the world, what happened to Earth. Are these guys going to survive? You got to learn about the rest of the what are they called? Like marshals or what
wardens or something
wardens.
like that.
Yeah, you got to learn the rest about them. There's so much about this book that I'm so interested in, and the artwork is just some of the best flipping artwork there is. So this is I hope issue 2 is just as good as issue 1.
Yeah, if it is, man, that's gonna be like one of the best books for me out right now. So just so good. But that's it. That's all our most anticipated this week.
All right. Well, there you have it, everybody. The second of the last show before we call it a quits for the season. So hopefully you guys will join us for the season finale next week. Same time, same place. And if you want, please subscribe to our channels. We got Cat Comic Uno. We have my channel, Comic Book Corner 2.0, and Only Good Comics.
Which is pretty important to do for the summer season. Now we get our opinions on weekly comics while we are gone.
Absolutely. And don't forget to like and hit the bell and do all that great stuff. So with that being said, guys, it's 5 minutes away from New Comic Book Day. So happy New Comic Book Day. And we will see you next week on the season finale. Good night, everybody.